Hi everybody, in today's video we'll continue working with Gio editors, but this time in a real practical scenario. We'll build a simple login window step by step and see how editors behave once everything is put together. I'll show you how to lay them out, style them, and handle the small details that matter, like validating input, showing errors of success, and enabling or disabling a login button accordingly. The goal is to build a window where editors clearly reflect their state and where that behavior is directly connected to the login action. The steps we will go through to build our login window will be like this as shown in this animation. We'll start with a very simple layout, just the username, password editors, and login buttons stacked vertically, and gradually refine it as we go. We will customize the editors and labels. You will see how to place them on the same row, setting their sizes and aligning them, then wrapping them with borders and insets. We will also customize and style the buttons. By the end, we will add input validations, show errors of success directly on the editors, and enable or disable the login button accordingly. Just a quick note, most people watching, around 80%, aren't subscribed yet. I put a lot of effort into creating these Gio videos, so if you find the content valuable, feel free to leave a like and subscribe to follow the series. It really helps support the channel and keeps this content going. Thank you. Let's start now. I'm using the same template as last time. To start, I will build the login window with the simplest way possible, a flex with a set of widgets stacked vertically. So I will add the flex first, then add the first widget to hold the username label. I will copy it and paste it below to hold the username editor, and I will change the label to editor. I need to declare the editor pointer before I can use it. I will also declare the password editor and the login and cancel button in this var section. All variables declared, I will now copy the second widget to create the password label and editor. To create the button, I will copy the last widget and change the editor to a button. Let's compile and run the application. Things are working as expected. All the widgets are stacked, one on the top of the other, and the editors don't have borders. Let's go back to the code and change the title of the window to Window 8 Applying Editors. We built the necessary widgets and lay them out on the window the simplest way. Now let's adjust them in a way to have the label and the editor on the same row as shown here. To do this, we would need a flex for each row. Let's copy the flex from above and change the axis to horizontal so the label and the editor will be on the same line. And then, as usual, put each widget in its rigid container. That's for the username row. Let's run and see how it looks. As expected, the username label is on the same row as the username editor. We should do the same for the password, correct? Actually, we can create a function that will lay out a label and an editor on the same row, and thus we can change the code once and apply it for both rows. I will then copy the flex with its widgets and paste it in a function named label and editor row. GTX will be the first parameter to the function, then the theme th, then the label and the hint, and the text size of the label. Let's try to use this function instead of the whole flex for the username row. Copy the function header and paste it just above the flex and change the parameters. Delete the flex now. Copy the rigid with the function call and paste it below for the password. Change the parameters. I just noticed that we need another very important parameter, which is the editor pointer. It's really needed. Let's add ed parameter to the function. Delete the code related to the password as it was replaced by the function call. Everything is done. Run now. As expected, we have two rows, one for the username and one for the password, and this is what's expected. As we did in the previous video, let's add a border and an inset to the editors. The advantage of using the function is that we add those once and it will be applied for both editors. We create a border and an inset, then we wrap them out around the editor. You can watch the previous video to see how to apply a border and an inset to the editor with details. Now I will increase the text size of the editor to be the same as the label. Let's run to see how it looks. Notice that the editors are not aligned correctly on the left side. The label and the editor are also not correctly aligned. They need to be aligned by the middle. I will set the editors to have a single line. I will also make the editor text size to be a parameter. I named the one we used for label size text size. To be more accurate for the naming, I will change it to label size and use text size for the editor text size. I will update the label to align it to the right by setting the alignment to text.end. Run to see how it looks now. Oh yes, I added one argument in the function and didn't update the calls. Let's fix that. You can see that the labels are not quite aligned to the right. Same thing for the editors to the left, and the editor is aligned top with the label. It should be aligned middle. Let's change that. To align the label and the editor middle, we just need to use alignment parameter of the flex and set it to middle. Let's run the application to check the effect now. We can see the labels are in the middle of the left border of the editor, and this is what we need. The two labels and the two editors are still not properly aligned. Let's fix a very important thing. Without it, we would not be able to type any character in the editor. The parameter for the editor in the function should be a pointer to widget.editor and not its value. I will set the maximum number of characters of the editor to 20. Actually, let's make it a parameter text len to the function. Run the application to see the effect. My bad, I changed the function and always forget to change the calls to it. Let's fix it. I'll set it to 100. I will probably change it later. Run again. Things look good. I'll set it to 20 now. For the label's left alignment to work, the label area's width need to be defined. As we did in video 5, we'll set both the minimum and maximum constraint to the same value 98. Run the application. You can see that the label doesn't fit in the length we set. You can also notice that the editors are not aligned perfectly on the left side. Let's go back and increase the number to 120, for example. Run again. Now the labels are aligned to the left, the editors are aligned to the right, and the labels and editors are aligned to the middle. Notice also that the editors are close to each other and close to the top of the window. We need to space them out a bit. I will add a spacer before and after the rigid. Run again. Looks good now. Yet the editors have different length. Let's copy the constraint min and max setting from the label and use them for the editor. Change the number to 400. Run the application. Looks way better now. Let's mask the password. For this, we should set that outside the function since it's specific only to the password. So I will set it at the beginning of the function loop. Run now. Working as expected. Let's change the buttons row now. I will add a cancel button. For this, I will need flex under the rigid. I will copy it from above. Change its axis from vertical to horizontal so the buttons will be side by side on one row. I will need 2 rigids, one for each button. I will add the first one, update the indentation of the login button, close the rigid, copy the rigid and duplicate it for the cancel button, change the button text and its pointer. Run now to see how it looks. As expected, the buttons are aligned to the left without any space between them. Let's change the spacing of the flex and pick space evenly. Run again. Better now. We customized the look of the editor. Let's do the same for the button. Same way, I will create a new function, new button with the arguments GTX, the theme, the text of the button, and its pointer. We customize the button the same way as the editor and the label. It starts by assigning the button to a variable and use this variable to change the default characteristics of the button. Then we return a variable .layout.GTX. I will start by changing the button text size to 30. Now I will call this function for the login button first. Run now to see the new look of the button. It looks a bit better than the other button. Back to the code. I will make the text size as a parameter. And use the function for the cancel button as well. Run now. The text of the buttons looks a bit bigger compared to the labels and the editor's hint, so I will lower it to 20. I will also change the background color of the button and use Beka color variable for this. I will add it to the parameters. I will also change the text color and use TXT color parameter for this. I will also change the button corner radius and set it to 5. And since we're there, I will also change the inset of the button to add more space between the button's text and its borders. I will set it to 20. I need to declare and set the color variables. I will copy it from the function and paste it in the loop function to create Beka color and TXT color. I will also add the new parameters for new buttons call. Run the application now. The buttons look like they are disabled. These will be used later. I will increase the blue in the color and run again. The color still looks faint, so I will increase alpha from 105 to the max 255. Now the text is not visible. I will comment the code that changed the text color altogether, so the white default color will be used. Run again. Way better now. Let's change the window size now to avoid showing extra space on the right and under the buttons. I will set the width to 500 and the length to 300. I will use min size and max size at the same time, so the window size is fixed. You can go back to video 1 and check this topic. Run the application now. Need to add a bit more to the width. I will change it to 650. You have an error here. I need to have the same width and same length for min and max. Run again. Looks good now, yet we can lower the width a bit to 620, same for the length to 280. Run again. It looks way better now. I will introduce something new now. It's catching the button click. So I will just close the window when the cancel button is clicked. If cancel button dot clicked and we provide the context GTS to the function, we will just exit the application by calling os.exit. Let's run to test the cancel button. Works as expected. Back to the code. I will implement a new way to set the borders of the editors now. In the previous video, the editor border changed color when it had the focus. This time I will add other colors. When there is an error in the number of characters in the editor, and when everything is fine and we will be able to click the login button. I will take the border definition from the function label and editor row and define it as a variable in the loop function, so it will be seen as a global variable for this function. I will rename it unfocused border, duplicate it to focused border, good border, and error border. I will lower the transparency for the unfocused border and keep it max when the editor has the focus. I will increase the green for the good border and the red part for the error border. The border now needs to be a parameter to the label and editor row function. Once this parameter is added, I will delete its definition inside the function. I will use a border variable, border username for username and border password for the password. Let's now define these new variables. I will start to add code to use these new variables, and I will try to make it simple so the concept will be quick and easy to grasp, and then you can add more to it on your own. First, set the username border to unfocused border. Same thing for the password border. Second, we test if the username has the focus. Then its border receives the focused border. Same thing for the password. Copy and paste and change the username to password. Third, we test the username's number of characters. If it's equal to 4, which is a constant I decided to use, you can define a global constant to set this value, for example. For the sake of this tutorial, I'm using 4 since it's easy to test with just 4 characters. So if it's equal to 4, the border should be green, which is the good border. And when the number of characters is not equal to 4, but also is not empty, which means we started typing, but we either added less or more than 4 characters in the editor. In this case, the border should be red, which is error border. Same thing for the password, so we will duplicate this code for the password. Let's add now an action for when the login button is clicked. So if the login button is clicked, I will just print a message to the console. Let's run the app to see how it's working now. At the start, the border is gray. Right when I click on one editor, the border becomes black to show it has the focus. By typing few characters less than 4, the border becomes red to show that the length is not 4 yet. Once we type 4 characters, the border turns green. Same thing for the password. If I type less than 4 characters, the border turns red. Yet, if I click the login button, the message is sent to the console, which is not ideal. If the password or the username editor is red, I should not be able to click the login button, or if I am still able, nothing should happen. So the next step is to disable and enable the login button at the right time. For this, we need to introduce 2 colors for the buttons. One when it's disabled and one when it's enabled. I will add them at the same level where the border colors are defined. I don't need BK color, which is the background color variable. I will then rename it to button background enabled color. I will duplicate it and rename it to be used for when the button is disabled. In terms of these 2 colors, the easiest way is to make them the same. They only differ in the alpha value. Disabled will have a lower value, so the button looks disabled. At the beginning, the background button color has the enabled color. We will also need a Boolean variable. I will name it disabled. It has the value true when the login button is disabled and false otherwise. If the number of characters is equal to 4, the button should be enabled, so disabled variable receives false. When it's not equal to 4 and there are few characters already in the editor, the button will be disabled, so disabled receives true. Same thing will be implemented for the password editor. Now, when we check if the login button is clicked, we need to add a check for disabled variable and the length of the text of username and password. In another word, if login is clicked and it's not disabled, and both username and password meet the requirements, which is the number of characters is equal to 4, then execute the login command. Let's try to run now and see how it's behaving. The focus is working fine. If the number of characters is less than 4, both buttons get disabled. Here it should be only the login. Let's go back and fix it. I will copy the background button color when it's enabled from above and use it for the cancel button. Run again. Even if the button doesn't look disabled, clicking it doesn't do anything, which is what we need. Clicking when it's disabled, same effect. When both editors are green, clicking the login button displays a message to the console, which is what's expected. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching. If you find this useful, subscribe and share. Thank you.